The 1213. Can it make money, or does it produce a lot of sevens? Stick around because we're about to find out. There's an endless debate in the craps community. Can dice setting actually create a player advantage? Between the grip, the load, the launch, and the landing, the sources of variation seem endless. But if we can minimize those variables with consistent technique, can we actually find an edge? How many rolls can a specific set survive before the dreaded 7 ends the run? We're putting the physics to the test and collecting the raw data. Is it skill or just plain luck? Let's find out on this episode of What Are the Odds? Thanks for clicking on the video, and I hope you're doing outstanding today. We're going to test out the 1213 dice set, looking to see how many rolls we can get off before we produce 10 sevens. We use a red and a blue die. We're going to try a consistent grip, set, and toss, and we'll track each one of our throws. So as you see here, the first throw is a 3. We put that into our dice tracker. And we'll continue doing this until we've produced 10 sevens. And in the interest of time, we'll speed things up. All right, let's take a look at our data here a little more closely. So 73 rolls versus the expected 60 rolls. We should have produced the 7 12.2 times, given our excessive number of rolls north of 60. Our longest roll streak was 24, and as you saw, we had a very solid opening roll where we nearly hit that full, tall, small, just missing it by the 2. Our most rolled number was the 5. 19.2% of our rolls favored the 5 versus the expected standard of 11.1%. So let's take a look at how many rolls that was. So the 5 actually showed up 14 times and was only expected to make an appearance 8.1 times. So very good dice set for the 5 in this rollout. But as you can see here, our least rolled number is no surprise that it was one of our extreme numbers. Here it was the 2, and since there's only one way to roll a 2, we're not surprised to see that. However, given 73 rolls, we should have hit that 2 exactly 2 times, and we only hit it once. Our strongest numbers that favored the 7 were the 5, 6, and 10. So we definitely seem to have a favorable set here that can outlast a 7. Our worst number here was a little surprising, was the 8. It only showed up 5 times, less than half of what was expected. We should have seen that 10.1 times, or 10, since we're working in a whole number of rolls. However, we only produced it 50% of the time, not even. And then if we want to take a quick gander at our most rolled red and blue dies individually versus our least, our 4 and 2 are our hot numbers on the red and blue respectively, rolling north of the standard 16.67%. And on the opposite end of that spectrum were the least rolled numbers on the red and the blue, which were the 3 and the 4. And moving into our sister numbers, our outside sister sets seem to really be supported by this dice set. So starting with the 5 and the 9, those appeared nearly 30% of the time, which accounted for 21 rolls versus an expected 16.2. And then likewise on the outside is the 4 and the 10, and those showed up just over 20% of our rolls, racking up 15 rolls versus an expected 12.2. So let's get into our prop bets. And here's a look at our hard ways. Man, is this a dice set that does seem to love the hard ways. Every single hard way outperformed expectations, or at least met in the case of the 8. So the 10 strongly performed. We were producing puppy paws left and right. Of the 9 10s rolled, 6 of those were an actual 5-5, which definitely better than the 1-2-1-2 dice set, which produced, I think, a total of 2 10s and no hard ways. Next is its sister, the 4. Of those 6 4s rolled, half were produced by a 2-2. And then the 6 was doing a really solid job too, just north of 30% of the 6s that came up were hard ways. And lastly, moving into our horn rolls, we see a lot of red here, but it's actually not a terrible story. We missed the 2, the 3, and the 11 by 1 versus the expected, and we met the 12. And when you look at the total number of expected horn hits, we should have had 12.2 with a 73 roll set. We only hit 9 horns total. But we did finally get a Saba here, twice actually. So of those 9 horns that hit, if you would have bet money on the CE or placed a horn bet, it would have returned. Unfortunately, we only ever hit back-to-back horns. We didn't hit any more than back-to-back horns. In summary here, if we're looking at some notables and takeaways, we have nearly a 22% edge with this dice set, the 1-2-1-3. which produced 73 rolls versus the expected 60. We did see a mix of roll favorability, with specifically the 5, 6, and 10. And essentially, the same went for the 4. We hit that 4 6 times versus an expected 6.1 times. So, I mean, it basically met the standard. And as we just reviewed, we saw a lot of hard ways with this dice set. As mentioned, the 4 and 10 were on fire, the 6 exceeded expectations, and the 8 met expectations. On the horn rules, we did fall just a little bit short, but we did have that see a horn, bet a horn pop up, which was nice. Well, that'll do it for this one. Thanks for joining me. Have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next episode of What Are the Odds?